Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with Monday Special. Now, as the year draws to a close and we review the stories that shaped 2013, road carnage will most probably not be among them. Yet almost 3,200 Kenyans have lost their lives because of drunken driving, careless driving, speeding, bad roads, fatigue, and the pastime Kenyan habit of breaking the rules and paying the police to get away with murder, quite literally. So as we wrap up the year 2013, let's take a look at how the statistics look as gathered by the police. Let's take a look at that now. A total of 3,178 people died in 2013. Among them, 1,473 pedestrians, 284 drivers, 806 motor vehicle passengers, 157 motorbike passengers, 134 bicycle riders, and 324 motorbike riders. Those are the fatalities for 2013. We're 2 days away from the new year, and that's what the numbers look like. Let's go back a year to 2012. Total deaths was 3,109. And here's a look at the breakdown. 1,530 pedestrians, 287 drivers, 741 motor vehicle passengers, 122 motorbike passengers, 125 bicycle riders, and 304 motorbike riders. A total there of 3,109 fatalities in the year 2012. Now, obviously, it's really troubling to see that a lot of people talking out against the travel ban, the night travel ban, but we're going to be getting more of that information as we do our discussion in the other studio in just a few moments. Now, the numbers are petrifying, and the reaction to the numbers even more so. That's, of course, talking about the night travel ban. The government has introduced a raft of measures to curb the carnage, but motorists and passengers of public service vehicles have reacted with outrage to some of these measures. Judy Kosgei introduces tonight's Monday Special topic with a preview of the happening in the last few days. Welcome back. That is now going to form the basis of our discussion tonight. Before we get into it, very quickly, some of your feedback on SMS. Someone here says, the night ban is working well. It's the best solution. It is applied in Tanzania and it's working well. I have been on Mombasa Road and there is a great difference. That's Dominic on Nairobi. On the other hand, Sami from Wiki says, introduce checkpoints along the highways where drivers can sign before, in between the journey, and after they arrive to determine the time taken. This will tame reckless drivers. On Twitter, at Victoria Ogoti says, I am a survivor with leg injuries of the Tuesday Mtito Ande Grizzly accident. Michuki laws should be fully enforced. And then we have someone, Manuvidi, at Manuvidi says, it's simple. If we want to stop the madness on our roads, Michuki rules, Michuki rules, Michuki rules, and finally Michuki rules. That's his message. That's just a look at some of your feedback so far. And of course, joining me in studio, we have, of course, Mr. James Onyango, we have Yusuf Nyakinda, and Mr. Lee Kinyanjui. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. You've seen the stories that we've been running. You've seen the statistics. Maybe I can start with you, Mr. Kinyanjui. It's been called the madness on our roads. There's public outcry. People are upset. They feel as though this is actually on the side of the government to do something. When you look at the numbers, what do you think it'll take to bring down road carnage in Kenya?
Thank you. I want to start by saying that indeed it's true that the numbers we see today are probably the worst. And we still have one more day to go, but I think looking at about 3,200, those are very serious numbers. But I think more importantly is when you break down and realize about half that number are actually pedestrians. Yeah. As about 1,473 are pedestrians. And that will also inform what sort of decisions we're going to make. But clearly what is important is for us to appreciate that we are probably at the lowest point, and I think action must be taken. And for that reason, I think some of the actions we'll be seeing coming up mainly from government and all the other stakeholders is not necessarily going to be very palatable, but it has to be taken. It has to be done.
It has to be done. Before I move on to the police and to the Kenya Red Cross, the ban on the night travel, we've seen mixed reactions. Yeah. Perhaps it's safe to say a lot more people feel like it's not going to solve anything. Yeah. Why was it important to introduce that, and what were you trying to solve?
Thank you. The last 10 accidents, major accidents involving 10 or more casualties, have involved buses. Now, out of those 10, 8 have been at night. So if you look at that basic, really tells you that. Now, we had this ban from the 24th. Now, between 24th and to date, if you look at the sort of traveling that we've had around this time, that's when people are moving around for Christmas. There's a lot of drinking. We have not recorded any accident by any PSV. So definitely it is working.
You feel as though it's being effective.
And more importantly, it's also been tried in other countries. In Rwanda, in Tanzania, it is working. So I think what we need is to inform the public, because there's a bit of misinformation. What we said is that for you to leave to your destination, the latest time for departure is 6. But you should arrive not later than 9 p.m.
Okay.
So anybody caught between around 8 o'clock, 8:30 is okay. But your arrival time, be it in Nakuru or Mombasa, should not be after 9 p.m. I think that is a clear distinction.
Mr. Nyongo, I want to come to you before I go to Yusuf of the Kenya Red Cross. And I want to paint a scenario where there's an accident. We're not only talking about road carnage, we're talking about the fact that Kenyans may sometimes not really know what to do. So as someone from the police, if there's an accident on the roads, what is the first thing that Kenyans ought to do? What is the first number that they should call?
Yeah, in case of any accident on our roads, the first thing to be done, if you are within a built-up area, you will always call police 99 or report to the nearest police station or to a police officer. This is something that many people don't know. Just meeting a police officer, even if you know if he's in civilian clothes and you know this is a policeman, you can approach him and report an accident. So this is what should be done. A driver, in case an accident has occurred, is also must make sure that he stops and reports the accident. And also maybe someone reasonable would like to know, get information from the city driver or the manager of the bus. They should give information to that person. Okay.
All right, so that's just about the road rules. I'll come back just to discuss more about implementation of stricter rules. Yusuf, you're with the Kenya Red Cross, obviously essentially dealing with the aftermath. Now, just looking at, for example, the accident that happened on Mtito Ande, I think it's safe to say that there was a lot of unethical things that were happening in terms of people milling around, people taking pictures. For someone's own safety, as a witness to that kind of accident scene, as the Kenya Red Cross, what's the first thing that you advise them to do?
What we normally advise the public is the first thing that the public is supposed to do, or anybody who witnesses an accident, is supposed to call the medical emergency line.
Okay. And
secondly,
what line is that?
We have various emergency numbers, like 1199 is one of them. We also have 0700 395 395. We also have 0738 395 395. Okay. Any of those numbers will be picked by our Central National Dispatch that will dispatch and send the nearest ambulance to the location to go and assist the victims. Yeah. The second thing that we advise the public to do is not to try and move the victims. What is very, very important is information, calling for emergency number. Secondly, what people are supposed to do is to try and assist and give first aid. Okay. And first aid here is only limited to stopping breathing or assisting or opening airway. That is the most important thing. We don't advocate for good Samaritans to try and move the victims from the accident scene.
It could cause more harm.
It causes more harm, and it is not done professionally.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to you, Mr. Kinyanjui. I know you've talked about some of the measures that you're trying to put in place. I still want to go back and try and understand. A lot of people have blamed it on the drivers who are not qualified to be on the roads, as one example. We still see instances, and this is also for the police to jump in, of borders that are overcrowded. You've got so many people sitting there and overloading all these vehicles, passing by roads and highways that essentially should be manned by a certain authority. So let's go back and try and address that issue. Why are we still seeing that happening on the road? Why are we still seeing so much recklessness?
Thank you. I think there are certain things that we must agree. that the training of a Kenyan driver today is inadequate, to say the least. It is on paper supposed to be 22 hours, but we appreciate that some go for as little as 5 hours or less, and they are drivers on the road. Again, if you look at the curriculum in terms of what exactly they are taught, even in terms of being able to respond to emergency situations, we have very little. So I guess what we are trying to say here is that systems have been a systemic failure. And one of the things we want to do, among many others, is we are reviewing the curriculum to have a curriculum for every category. If you ask today what is a curriculum for the border or for the motorcyclists, there is no standardized curriculum. Every school has their own, and there's no even standardized examination. Many will recall that if you went for your driving, what they would ask you is maybe 2 or 3 road signs. You drive for 20 meters and you're a driver, and now you can go back.
So it needs to be a lot more stringent, a lot more thorough.
Exactly, and then again also it's good to remember, we rarely come across people who have failed their driving tests. So what that simply means is that even bad drivers are allowed on the road, and when they fail is when we see the accident. So we need to have more stringent examinations, more stringent ways of vetting the bad drivers. And also it's good to note that we don't do any medicals currently to ensure whether your eyesight is correct. So you go there, you probably have an eye problem, you cannot see at night, or you cannot see well for that matter, and you have your driving license, and before long you're driving people to Mombasa or other places. So what we've done is we're reviewing the curriculum, and before you take your driving license, you'll be compelled to do a medical that will include other things, your eyesight and other conditions that may hamper your driving. Then number 2, we're also coming up with a smart driving license.
Smart driving license?
Smart driving license, which is not corruptible for that matter. And if you're found to be over speeding or drunk driving, you see currently when we get people through the alcohol, all you're doing is to charge them. But we would want a system whereby in your driving license for the rest of your life, when you're caught, they will know on such and such a day you are driving while you are drunk.
So they have a record.
You have speeding. You have a record.
When will this be done? When will all these be implemented? What's the time frame?
We are at an advanced stage in terms of procurement for the smart driving license, and it's all about having data that can be used. Because the problem we are having right now is that you have drivers who cause mayhem in one company and quickly move on to the other, and the new company has no way of getting to know what sort of driver it is. So before the end of this year, we should be able to have the smart card.
The end of the year is tomorrow.
2014. Sorry, maybe I'm ahead.
So before the end of 2014, so it'll take about a year to roll some of these things out.
To roll the data, to update all the information, and to retrain also some of these drivers.
Okay. Mr. Nyango, some people are still blaming the police. They say that they still feel there's a sense of laxity in terms of police carrying out their mandate, more of them being especially along some of the black spots, some of them even being blamed for corruption. A lot of people on the feedback I'm seeing here saying, well, if the corruption ends, maybe we'll see an improvement. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, I can say there are some, we have challenges, and these are human characters. What I can say, for example, when the breathalyzer was brought in recently, even before it could be handed over to us to go and start using it, it was all over the paper that the police are being given an ATM card. I don't believe this, because maybe there are challenges, there are also some bad elements, but not all of us are bad. They may be 1 or 2, and for example, when we get these ones, we take very serious action against them. And these are not within the police service alone. Bad elements are all over. So what we are doing as the chairman, we are with the chairman here, even now, the other day we were talking, they are trying to help us even to get vehicles and to make sure that we enforce the law to the letter. For example, we have challenges, as we are telling you. These are vehicles, and they are moving long distances. If you don't have vehicles, you will try to stop some. They will fail to stop. So we need tools to make sure we have enough tools to get onto the ground and make sure the law is
being adhered to. Are there tough measures being taken in the wake of especially some of the graphic accidents that we've seen lately. Mr. Kinyanjui has outlined some of what he'll be doing in his organization. The police, what measures are being put in place?
Ours is to enforce the law. We are enforcing the law which has been enacted by the parliament. For example, now the chairman and his team, that is TNSA, has given us rules to implement. Like now stopping those buses from traveling during the night. It is not the police to come out with such rules. We get rules from parliament, from people like them. And since this started, we are really trying the much we can with the little resources that we have.
Okay. Yusuf, let me draw you in. As someone who works with an organization, you face this on such a very frequent occurrence for the Kenya Red Cross. How is it, how do you feel it's been working, for instance, with the police? And from that perspective, what have you seen that perhaps you think these are some of the things that need to be introduced to make this process a lot more streamlined when an accident has happened?
Yeah, we work very closely with the police, and in fact, most of the calls that we receive after accidents we get from the police. First, the public has to be made aware of how to report accidents, on first aid, training, and also whether public or private vehicles, they must have first aid kits so that they can assist before we arrive. The other thing is just trying to work together with all the authorities, because what has been happening is each entity works alone without involving everybody or all the stakeholders. If that is done, then we work as one team, and also to upgrade most of the hospitals, government hospitals that are along the highways, because those are the areas or places where most of the victims are taken first.
And then they're under-resourced, a lot of these hospitals.
A lot under-resourced.
Could you repeat the numbers for us? I know that our production team wants to run those numbers on the screen. You talked about emergency numbers in the event that someone sees an accident. If you can repeat the numbers for us, all three of them.
We have a toll-free number. That is 1199.
1199.
Then we have 0700 395 395. Then we have an Airtel number 0738 395 395.
Okay, I think the team has noted that. They're going to be able to run that across for people to take note. Mr. Kinyanjui, just listening to what Yusuf is saying, is it true that maybe the entities are working separately and that could be hampering efforts, whereas if they're more streamlined and working together, we could see more efficiency?
I must say that is true to the extent that you see in the past we had a Ministry of Roads, we have Ministry of Transport, with the Kenya Police, we had the Ministry of Health, Ministry of, so all these entities had their own separate sort of road safety arrangements. And it is for that reason that then the government thought that why don't we bring all efforts to do with road safety under one roof. And that's how NTSA was actually conceptualized, to be the lead agency in terms of road safety coordination for the entire government. But I think more importantly, and I think that is where the Red Cross is actually coming in, we're saying we have a lot of resource within government and outside. We don't need to duplicate our efforts. In terms of first aid and the first aid lessons that we can be able to teach our people, I think we want to get from the best, and that is Red Cross and among other institutions. So I talked about reviewing the curriculum. And one of the things we realize is that when there's an accident, the first people to come are fellow motorists. And these motorists are very ill-equipped in terms of knowing what to do. They probably want to help, but they have no idea. You know, it's just an emotional moment. You really don't know what to do. So again, one of the areas we'll be closely working together with the Red Cross and other players is to ensure that every driver who gets a driving license has at least some good hours of first aid, so that you can know what to do in the event of an accident where you are involved or where other people are involved, and to ensure that we reduce the time between when you have the accident when people are taken to the hospital. In fact, when you talk about night travel, one of our biggest concerns is that, as you know, there are fewer vehicles traveling at night. So if you have a major accident, it takes much longer for you to get any assistance, and even when it comes, you're not too sure how it comes. So in terms of survival rates, maybe between day and night, obviously at night is much lower. And I think these are the areas that we want to work together to ensure that our roads are manned so that in the unlikely event of accidents, people are able to get quick response.
All right. We have our series, Roadhog, which you've seen. What happens to those offenders? A lot of people feel as if there's too many repeat offenders walking away scot-free. You know, they cause all kinds, they're reckless on the roads. There's a lot of overtaking, overlapping, whether it's PSVs, whether it's privately owned vehicles. And there's no sense of sort of punishment. There's nothing that's done to them. What is happening to people who are causing these accidents on the roads, or people who are driving recklessly on the roads?
I think the first thing is to thank the Royal Media Service, first of all, for highlighting that, because the first thing is to make people appreciate that we all have a responsibility. It's not just about the police or the Red Cross. We, including the media, have a role in terms of exposing this. Then the second thing is also to appreciate that the government has also come up with cameras, like in Nairobi, I'm sure you've seen all over, and they'll be put in all the major cities, including also on the highways for people who are overspeeding. So I think we have come from a period where there was a bit of laxity, but slowly we are closing in. Like I said, anybody who's been caught by the alcoblow will have that data, and it will forever be in your whatever. The same for the people who are caught on the Roadhog. We're also going to look for a way to ensure that those who are convicted will have to pay the fine, and then eventually we put that. And I think that is what actually the banks are doing. But when you want a loan from one bank, they will first check your history. So we want a situation where you go for your next interview, people will want to know, although you may be a good finance person, what sort of a person are you on the road? And do you make Kenyans feel safer by you being there? So definitely something is being done. Mr.
Onyango, how much do you think alcoblow is having an effect on bringing down the numbers of road carnage, especially over the last few weeks when we've seen it come back in full force?
Yeah, it is going to do much better, because even like today, someone was a bar owner was ringing one of my colleagues to get to know where the alcoblow will be this evening.
So that he could what? Avoid it?
So that he stops going to buy so much goods for his customers, and yet he knows they will not come. So it is caring, and the chairman should make sure that it continues.
But it also seems to be inconsistent. I think another thing is that the initiatives are good, but then they kind of come and go. Peak season, they're there, then suddenly they're not on the roads anymore. Are we going to see alcoblow throughout 2014, for instance?
We want to make sure that it is sustained.
I think the sustainability of any exercise is what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So if it just comes during this Christmas or around Easter, then it's not effective. So I think what we want to do is, one, we want to encourage even the matatu owners and the sacco owners. Don't wait for the policeman to come and check whether your driver is drunk. This gadget costs 185. Even companies can be able to own this. But I want to assure you, we will buy enough numbers in terms of alcoblows to put them across all, not just on the main highways, but even weekdays and even during the day, because we're also aware that a lot of the drivers, because of being put under pressure, they're actually taking stimulants and other things to ensure that they can be able to push on. So I think because we have identified drunk driving and also drugs also are part of it, we are going to ensure that we put the alcoblow across the year.
Yeah, there's also a hygiene issue. Could you clear that and clarify that? A lot of Kenyans worried that it's unhygienic.
I think that was the initial concern, because the piece where you would blow would be the same one that would be put to the next guy. But what we did is that we have now a disposable piece. So you open it yourself, you blow it, and after that it is thrown away.
Okay.
So I think the issue of health concern has been taken into account, and you're the one to open it for yourself. So I think we are really past that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yusuf, again, you're the first in terms of just respondents clearing the scene, injuries, etc. We've talked about so many reasons why accidents happen: over speeding, reckless driving. What have you seen as the main reason from your own experience why there's so many road accidents? I know Mr. Kinyanjui and Mr. Onyango have talked about drivers need to be trained better, but what have you seen as the main reason why they happen so much?
I think what is leading is drunkenness is one of them. Secondly is overspeeding. and carelessness. Those go together, because when we go to the scene and we are told the circumstances under what the accidents occurred, then we see those. And sometimes when we take the victims to hospital, we can definitely see that this person was done. Yeah.
So it's a major issue.
It is.
It's a major issue.
It is.
Someone here at N Malim saying, I feel like the government is making excuses. Why don't we start with improving the roads? How much are bad roads responsible for the accidents that we're seeing?
I think we can do a lot to improve our roads, but I think it's also good for Kenyans to appreciate we are still a third world country. Because I know there are times when we get a head-on collision and people tell me, yeah, we told you, why don't you have dual carriage? But we must also appreciate that it costs money, so we want to do the best we can with the resources that we have. We are also in the process of coming up with footbridges, especially in areas where there have been a lot of pedestrians who've been knocked. And specifically on Mombasa Road, I think we are putting about 2, but across the entire corridor, we are going to come up all those places where we have marked that people are being knocked. We are going to put the pedestrian crossing. But it's also good to remember that even when we have done that, they still don't use them. So we will put them and also try to come up with a campaign to increase the utility of the same. But I must also add that there are some of the footbridges that have been put that are very unfriendly, so that if you're an old person or you're carrying something, therefore you can't cross on the road, you want to go up, it's very difficult. So you will see like what has been put on Thika Road is a little bit more friendly, is transparent because of security, and I think all this we will put as we move on. But I think what we want to say is that everybody has a role to play. If we stop here to say it is the roads, then the roads people say it is the police, then the police says the Matatu people, the debate will never end. We are saying everybody has a responsibility to play in road safety.
All right. Mr. Onyango, people are still crying foul against corrupt officers on my timeline and on SMS. So maybe perhaps you can advise us, if a police officer comes up and asks for something, they should be reported. Is there a number one should call? A lot of people are saying, look, the way I see it, this is something that I've dealt with face to face, corruption on the roads, courtesy of the police officers.
Now, this is an issue that we have talked of, mentioned repeatedly, time and again. We don't allow our officers to take money from motorists. And sometimes you people, you have caught them on cameras, you will see who really starts this job. So to me, I usually say this is a culture that all of us must fight. The owner of the vehicle should know that the vehicle is on the road, well equipped, with all papers that are required of him. So he travels knowing that his vehicle will not collide with any law enforcer on the road, so that he does not go giving out money and then they start saying, oh, the police, the police, the police. As they say, the giver and the receiver, both of them are committing the offense. So we don't condone this. And as I told you before, even in all these offices, we have people sometimes that disciplinary action is being taken even here in your office. So if we get them, we take action against them. So what I'm telling motorists, the PSV owners who are common in this, why should you do this? Yeah. Do the right thing. Make sure that your vehicle is up to date, your driver has all the papers, the uniform. From Nairobi to Mombasa, you don't talk with police. If you are stopped, you just remain at your driving seat. And I've known, for example, I went on a canvas, I went on OTCs, which were there. I went on the Kenya bus, which were there. These were vehicles that if you stop them, the driver will remain at the seat and just look at you. And you will check and let him go, because you will not arrest someone who has not committed an offense. But you know, there are some who are operating on confusion.
Okay.
Like some of our PSV vehicles, I don't want to blame them so much. So this confusion where you are going on the road, you don't have road license, I mean, insurance, you don't have PSV, you don't have what. Just seeing a policeman, you find one starting looking for a change.
Okay. They start to panic because they're in the wrong. Yusuf, I believe Red Cross was talking about a campaign. I don't know whether you can shed some light on some of the work or some of the messages you're trying to spread about road safety.
The first thing was to create awareness about training. The second thing was about the use of first aid kits. The third was about reporting accidents or anything to do with emergencies on the road, so that people are safe wherever they are, not only on the roads, but even at home. Yeah.
All right. Can I just have a final word from all of you, just in terms of encouragement? People are pretty shaken by what's happened over the last few days. On the one hand, there's those who say, stop blaming government, stop blaming the police. Someone here going as far as to say the court system is slow, and so therefore they'd rather pay a bribe so that they don't have to go through that process. Just give us your words of wisdom to the Kenyans who are watching, who are worried about the increasing madness on the roads, and just your assurance that something is going to be done. Let's start with you, Mr. Kimejri.
Thank you. I first want to add to what Onyango has said, that whenever you leave judgment to officers, they are sometimes bound to be compromised. So I think one of the things we'll be working on is to automate our roads. So if a camera, catches you driving at a certain speed, it is not negotiable. And I think that information can now be produced in court as evidence. So I think we'll be seeing more and more automation. And the hope is to try and reduce the discretional sort of offenses that we see. But also, secondly, is to agree that even if things are so bad, we have no other country to go to. We can only make this place a better place. And I think it is unfortunate because in the last few months, we've attracted very negative publicity, both locally and outside. And I must say it is because of our behavior on the road. Now, what is important is that 80% of the accidents are caused by human behavior. So if you address human behavior, then it means we'll have done more than even half of what we can do. So in the coming year, what we will ask is everybody at whatever level, the media, I want to thank them very much for exposing, because sometimes when you expose, you also let other people think about what they can do to make the place better. On ourselves, we are in charge in terms of policy, and we'll be able to come up with the best policies. And as you've seen, we gazetted the regulations for the PSV. And one of the things we've said is that all vehicles, especially those traveling at night, will require to have a tracking device. Now, tracking device will be able to tell us at what speed you are driving from our control room right here in Nairobi. So we don't need to be there stopping you at night to confirm whether you're driving or not, or at what speed you are. So we are going to come up with all these measures. But I think at the end of the day, the driver will have to make the right decision and to appreciate that the decisions that we make on the road affect many other people. Okay.
Very quickly, the night ban, how long is that going to go on for? The banning, the night travel ban.
Okay. Like I said, latest time for departure is 6, and latest arrival is actually, that is 6 p.m.
Yes, 6 p.m. arrival,
9 p.m. That is the latest you can be on the road.
Is this a permanent?
Well, let me say it's not permanent. We have actually clear conditions of what you need to do so that you can be allowed to travel at night.
Okay.
And as it is right now, we have not licensed anybody to travel at night.
Until further notice.
Until further notice.
All right.
And when you do that, we are going to make that information public so that the public also would know where to go for. But for now, nobody has any permission to drive at night.
Okay. Yusuf, we'll end with you. Let's go to Mr. Onyango.
Yes. What I can say, as much as Kenyans would like to see to it that with the police we prevent accidents, this work cannot be left to us alone. For example, you have a PSV vehicle, you want to leave Nairobi to Mombasa, you are the one who knows the condition of the vehicle. Is your vehicle in proper working condition? Do you have the right driver? Do you have the road inspectors at a certain point who can stop your vehicle and check and make sure things are up to date? Is the driver drunk or not drunk? these things should be there, but our people have left all of them to the police. Madam, as an individual who is in traffic, sometimes I sit down and ask myself, we are being blamed, truly. How do we stop these accidents completely? You find that to get that answer is not easy. It needs all of us. As I've told you example of the OTCs that we had, the Akambas that we had. You could meet road inspectors with their pickup on the road stopping a vehicle, making sure there is no excess passengers. But where these days people just go for benefits to an extent that the owner of the vehicle, the conductor, the driver knows that the vehicle is already full, and they go adding some seats that they call
so it's
Sambasa.
And
they expect the police, you know, we are hunters. Law enforcer is a hunter. So the vehicle lives here to Mombasa. Sometimes that vehicle can be very lucky. It goes, when you reach to a point where the police are, the police are stopping one, but this one
has gone. Okay, sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you very quickly before I go to Mr. Nyakinda. A number, did you say 999 is the number to call in case someone has witnessed something and wants to alert the police?
Exactly.
It's 999, and that's working. All right, Mr. Nyakinda, your final words.
Janet, it is very, very unfortunate to lose lives on our roads. And in the event that that happens, I think what is very, very important is the first person to arrive should have some little first aid knowledge that can open airway or stop bleeding. Then call for a medical emergency to assist. That would be very, very, very important. Yeah, and many, many lives would be saved. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. This is certainly something that we're going to discuss going into 2014. People still not 100% convinced, particularly, like I said, on the corruption issue, but you've already stated that case. And we're just hoping for a better 2014. Like you said, perhaps one of the issues is the human behavior. We have the roads as well. A lot of issues to look into. Sorry, very briefly, you look like you want to say something before we go.
What I should say, there are some things that we must fight as a nation, all of us. For example, those who are seeing these corrupt officers, they are well informed people. Let them be reported. We shall always take action.
They feel like no action is taken. I think that's the feeling.
We take action. I wish, even now, if I can give you time to come to our office tomorrow, you will know we are really taking action.
We'll hold you to that. With Cam, yes, sorry, you also want to say something.
Jen, I just want to say that regarding the night ban, that we've had to make that decision, much as it is inconveniencing. But I think the question we would want to ask ourselves, do we want to wake up to headlines of Kenyans who are stranded or Kenyans who have lost their lives? And I think the answer is very clear. So we only ask for patience and there to be better planning on the side of the providers, so that we are able to transit in a better way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for that. Just a look at how to end the madness on the roads. We're going to be showing some of your feedback towards the end of this program. We'll be back after this short break. That's a look at what we had for you on the final edition of Monday Special for the year 2013. Let's take a look at some of your feedback on tonight's topic. Let's see if we have anything that we can put up on Twitter and via SMS. While that's being prepared, let's take a look at what some of you are saying on SMS. Well, first being told by my director to take a look at Twitter. At Okello Dave says, if our police can avoid corruption and work perfectly, what we're seeing on the roads will never be there. Of course, that's a sentiment many of you share. Let's move on to the next tweet. At SK_Bundotich says, ban of night travel by PSVs is just another time bomb. Vehicles speed up to beat the timeline, which is more deadly. And then at Sir Enoch says, I think the police should now be more vigilant in scrutinizing drivers and vehicles. Let's see if we have any more. at Varza Bridge, I think that's what it says. I think the better way is to make driving a profession and not a hobby as it is now. And that's basically saying that it should be better qualified people on the roads. At Sammy Kua says, I don't like it. That's, of course, the travel ban, the night travel ban. I don't like it, but we have to start somewhere. I see if this is the final tweet. Right, that's the final tweet that we have. And then that's for now. Let's take a look at what some of you are saying on SMS. As much as we want to prevent road carnage, I sincerely don't understand the law, that's the banning of the night travel, because we still have some of them commuting at night, and that should be addressed at this point. So that's just a look at what some of you have said tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your views. Let's really all hope and pray for a much safer 2014. We'll be keeping an eye out on what the chairman of NTSA, Lee Kanyanjui, said about all the measures that his organization wants to take to curb the issue. We'll follow up on that topic in 2014 for sure. Let's keep talking using the hashtag MondaySpecialKE. I'm Janet Mbogwa. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow night.